What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sane, and today we are going to be going back to our series of ranking all of the Pokemon of a certain type in comparison to each other, not really considering a single game, but instead thinking about just how good they are in any game that they're in, whether it's a randomizer, or it's their vanilla game, it's their original game, it's any kind of vanilla game. Not really looking at ROM hacks that change things, just because that really depends, and it's not, I'm only looking at the vanilla Pokemon and stuff like that. So let's get into it. Also, this is a re-recording. The first one I actually forgot like 5 dragon types, so oopsies. But it's okay, we go again. This one's gonna be a little bit more cleaned up. So here we go. I'll start with Dragonite. I think Dragonite is just very simple, and I think it keeps him out of the A tier. Or it keeps him in the A tier instead of the S tier. I guess let me first go over my tiers. I've got C tier, which is the Neopets. B tier is a monster. A tier is Kaiju. S tier is Deity, and then Shenron, which is the best dragon type in my opinion for a Nuzlocke run. And I think Dragonite lands in the A tier. 134 attack and getting extreme speed in some of the later generations is awesome. But you lack, Dragon Dance or anything to really make you crazy. Even, I guess you get Dragon Dance, like, later, but, like, kind of every dragon gets that. I want to look more at Pokemon that get something more than just, most Dragon Pokemon in some games can get Dragon Dance. So I think if they learn it by level up, that's a point in their favor. If they get it early, it's a point in their favor. If they have something that, sets them above the rest, that's a point in their favor. And I think, the only thing that Dragonite has is going for him compared to other dragons is extreme speed, which is great, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's also some great coverage. Dragonair itself is really good, too, because Dragonair gives you, Surf, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt coverage, which is all fantastic. And you're a Dragon type, so, Dragon types are always just good to have for their defensive utility. Kingdra, I think Kingdra is an S tier. I think when you have a Kingdra on your team, it is a reason to build a rain team if you didn't already have one. If you already have a rain team, then Kingdra is the king of that rain team. Water Dragon is such good typing too. You only have 2 weaknesses. One, without fairy typing, your weakness is only dragon, which you handle yourself because you're going to have Ice Beam, so you're going to beat other dragons. And then fairy, but there's not really a single dragon. There's 2 dragons on this list that are not weak to fairy, so I'm not gonna hold that against them. I'm not gonna hold it against them. Altaria, I actually think Altaria is an A tier too. It gets Dragon Dance early by level up. It's one of the earlier dragons too, and it's still pretty bulky. I mean, stat wise compared to other dragon types, it's not fantastic, but it can still do everything. It can still Dragon Dance, sweep. Even in Gen 3 without physical Dragon Stab, whatever. Just teach it Earthquake, Steel Wing, Aerial Ace, and that's fine. It'll work out for you. And the later generations only gets better with better moveset. I think it's nice tanky support of a pivot Pokemon that you can get really early. It's the earliest Dragon type I think on this list. Really, I can't think of another Dragon type you get earlier than you would get a Swablu. I guess Appleton is the other one, but anyways, yeah, I think it's really solid. Just if it didn't learn Dragon Dance by level up, I don't think it would be here. I think it'd probably be around here time. Flygon. So Flygon's actually what I forgot in the first list. Flygon, I think it's a B tier. It's a dragon ground type, which is cool. Its stats are pretty alright. But it doesn't really have anything. It doesn't have Dragon Dance to help itself set up. It has Levitate, which is cool. So it's a dragon ground type that's still also immune to ground without having to be dragon flying. But I really just don't think it's anything crazy. Even in Emerald, I think Altaria is just better than Flygon solely because of Dragon Dance, and even with Stab or Earthquake, I feel like it's just gonna be stronger from an Altaria. So I feel like Flygon, it's got some good coverage. It's a very well-rounded Pokemon. It's another one that you can get somewhat early for a dragon at least. I think it's just okay. I don't think there's really anything special about it. Salamence is definitely S tier. Its stats are ridiculous. Unlike Dragonite, it's laid out to be more just fully offensive. Well, Dragonite's kind of tanky with high attack. It's a little weird. While Salamence is just pure offensive, and then Intimidate is such a good ability. Intimidate's just so good. I don't even care about any other ability. Just Intimidate is just one of the best abilities in the game. I think I like Kingdra more than it because in the games you get it, you're more likely to have a Kingdra early because once you have a Seadra, you just have to trade, and then you have your Kingdra. While Salamence, the early 2 stages are just so bad that it's not good until it's a Salamence, but Salamence itself is so good that it's easily an S tier Pokemon to be. Garchomp is a better Flygon, but I don't think it really is S tier. It's fast. It's got good offensive stats. You know, Dragon Ground is good typing. Rough Skin is pretty cool. Sandville's okay. If you ever want to build a sand team, you know, there you go. Usually in like Platinum, you can get it pretty early, but it's not fantastic. You do have like Swords Dance you can teach it, but Dragonance would just be better. So I think it's just missing something to be quite an S tier. Like Salamence has Intimidate, and Kingdra has its typing and its availability and Rain Dance. Availability being when you can have it when it evolves. Because you're kind of just running around the game mostly with a Gabite, which I just don't think is quite as good. Like, I think a Dragonair is going to be better for you than a Gabite would be, but I think Garchomp is probably better for you than a Dragonite would be. Depending, I feel like I'm kind of on the same boat with these two here. Let's see, Haxorus I think is an S tier. 147 attack is ridiculous. Plus, I mean, Rivalry can be used sometimes, and you hit even harder. You deal more damage, I believe. And Mold Breaker as the real ability, you can Mold Breaker Earthquake and hit things that levitate, which is really, really good. Just to like slap a Choice Band on it, you can just click Earthquake. Or slap a Choice Band and just click Outrage and don't really care. And like Gen 5 and stuff. I don't even know if you have a Choice Band in Gen 5, just even without any kind of item on it. You hit so hard, and you get Dragon Dance by level up to I want to say patch your speed, but your speed's honestly fine. You're fast enough. You're gonna outspeed some things, especially with like speed EVs and stuff. I think it just hits so hard. I think Haxorus just hits so ridiculously hard that that's just above the rest of these guys. Like it just hits way too hard to not be S tier to me. And it's still a Dragon type, and it actually has like pretty decent availability for a Dragon. Like it's better than like Salamence, honestly. Druddigon is the first Neopet. This thing is just, it's got fine stats. It's like kind of bulky. It's got 120 attack, which is great. But, it has no speed. It has no Dragon Dance or way to fix its speed. So it's kind of just it's a very plain Pokemon and a very bland Dragon type, in my opinion. Like Flygon is at least like fast and has like Stab Earthquake. And Levitate. I feel like Druddigon's just like, it's a dragon, and that's kind of it. And C tier isn't bad. I don't think it's a bad Pokemon, but I don't think it's great. So I have Zweilous and Hydreigon separated because Hydreigon's level, when it doesn't evolve to like 64, and that's usually well past most games' level cap. So there's not a lot of games. I think besides like Sword and Shield, I can't think of a game you can actually use a Hydreigon in. So I'm going to rank it separately. So you have Hydreigon in the games that you can actually use it because of its level cap. So whatever games those are, I can't tell you off the top of my head. I know Sword and Shield. And then I have Zweilous for other games like Black and White 2, which level cap is not when you can evolve it. So I'm going to rank Zweilous second, or separate, and I think it's pretty bad, honestly. I mean, with Eviolite, it's probably a little bit better than Druddigon, and it's a little bit faster. But its attacking stats are not there. Dark typing is good. Like, Dragon and Dark together is actually pretty good just because there's so many random things you cover, both offensively and defensively. But, I feel like it's just really lacking, just being as Zweilous. I feel like C tier is just a perfect place to put it. Honestly, these two could switch spots. This doesn't matter right here. I feel like these two are just as good as each other. It just depends on if you need a Dark type or not. Whether which one you put on your team if you have these two, but they are not great, I will say. But Hydreigon would be an S tier. Hydreigon is S tier. It's kind of like Haxorus. It's just so immediately powerful. Special attack, I mean, Dark Pulse, Dracometer is going to hit so hard, especially if you can ever get like choice specs on it. You do get Nasty Plot in like Gen 8, which is also just another reason to be S tier. Levitate's a really good ability too. So you're so good defensively with Levitate, giving you an immunity, Dark typing giving you an immunity, and then Dark and Dragon having so many resistances. I feel like you're just such a good pivot, and you're still pretty fast. You have things like tail. You can like set up Tailwind. Although I think it might be an egg move, so I mean you're not really setting up with Hydreigon. You're gonna switch your Hydreigon who's got specs and is gonna smack things with like Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, and like covers like Flamethrower or Flash Cannon or something. And being quad weak to Fairy, I don't really like. Every dragon has a quad weakness. I'm not gonna hold a quad weakness against any dragon ever. Okay, like these two are so far the only two on the list that don't have a quad weakness, and I guess Druddigon. But it doesn't make Druddigon better than Flygon because it doesn't have a quad weakness. Like, no. Dragachi. So getting into Gen 6. Dragachi, I feel like, is the Tentacruel of dragon types. It's literally like a Tentacruel, but as a dragon type. Like, bulky, defense, special defensively. Fine physical attack. Or fine physical defense, unlike Tentacruel. Fine special attack. I think it's a nice B tier. It's solid. I mean, Dragon Poison is fine typing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't think it's anything special. It's just like Flygon. It's a very fine Pokemon. Like, it's a dragon type, so if there's a reason to put it on your team, it should be on your team, kind of thing. Like, if there's not a reason not to put it on your team, it should be on your team, just because dragon types are just that useful in Nuzlocke with the resistances and stuff. I just don't think it does anything special, really. And kind of the same thing with Tyrantrum. The rock dragon typing is pretty good. Not like crazy synergies there. Like Poison definitely synergizes with the type better. But it's just good offensively. It's a physical tank. But bad special defense, so it's fine. Strong Jaw's a great ability too. I mean, when you can teach it like Thunder Fang, Ice Fang, Fire Fang, and then like Bite Crunch, those are going to be some great coverage moves for this Pokemon. Don't think it's anything crazy, but I don't think it's bad. It's definitely not bad. It's still very solid. Noivern reminds me of Crobat. This thing is exactly the Crobat, with like being really fast, fairly tanky, can still do some good damage. Has a pretty good support moveset with like Tailwind, Screech, Super Fang. All of it's solid, and you're still doing some pretty good damage because 97 special attack is fine. That's still a decent special attacking stat. So your Dragon Pulses, your Air Slash are still gonna hit pretty hard. But it's more of a supportive Pokemon. And I don't love the idea of your dragon type being more of a support instead of being like a super offensive Pokemon. But I'm sure that if I ever used this thing in a Nuzlocke, I would love it just because dragon typing defensively is so good. And having it be support, it would just be reliable. I think this thing is really reliable. So I'm going to throw it at the top of B tier. Goodra. Goodra's a lot like Dragon. Goodra's like a more defensive Dragonite, which is why I'm actually going to put it behind Altaria. It's really specially tanky. It's got fine physical defense. Attack and special attack are both pretty usable. It's going to do some fine. It's going to do some fine damage. Like Goodra is about as good as a special attacking Dragonite. I would put them the same, if not better, because they're actually just as fast as each other. But I think Dragonite's 134 attack sets it apart and makes it better, and then also Extreme Speed also just makes it better. So I think Dragonite's a little bit better than Goodra, but Goodra's a very similar story going on. Like just with coverage, and it's really good. It's a really good special wall. I did really like Goodra. Drampa, another one I actually forgot about. What is Drampa? Does it have like? It has Berserk, which can be pretty good, or Sap Sipper. Sap Sipper is I don't think Sap Sipper's really that good. It's very dependent. So Berserk, when it drops below half HP, its special attack is raised by 1 stage. That's pretty fine, but I mean once you're below half HP, you don't exactly want to stay out forever, so you have to make sure you can heal this thing. Which it doesn't have anything naturally healing. But it's still pretty bulky, and 135 special attack is pretty solid, and it's another dragon that you would have earlier in the game. I think it's actually hilarious that Drampa can learn Fly. I think that's hilarious, because this thing does not look like it can fly. But it can. It actually can, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, 135 special attack, it's going to hit like a truck, even without Berserk. And, I mean, normal stab, normal typing on it, it gives you a ghost immunity, and I guess you're weak to fighting now, so that's kind of whatever. I don't think that's really a huge trade-off. I think it's B tier. I don't see Yeah, I think it's just B tier. It's another dragon type. It's an earlier game dragon type. It's very solid. I mean, it's still going to give you all the coverage you're going to want from a dragon. It's still going to give you the defensive utility you're going to want from a dragon. It's still going to hit hard. I can learn Dragon Dance, and I can actually learn Calm Mind, at least in Gen 8. But Gen 7, is there Calm Mind TM in Gen 7? Yep. So yeah, set this thing up with Calm Mind and go crazy. So it's pretty good. I think it's a solid B tier. Throw it here. Berserk. I'm sure you can set something up with Berserker or Berserk and just like roost it off. Oh, it does learn. You can teach it roost. Okay. So yeah, just run like Calm Mind, Roost, Dragon Pulse, and then I don't know, coverage move, and you're good. Very, very solid Pokemon. I'll put it like right here. Let's see. Alolan Exeggutor. This is another one I actually missed on that first list, but I'm not gonna worry about that because the first list doesn't exist anymore. But Alolan Exeggutor, Grass Dragon is okay typing. And I don't think it's as good as normal Exeggutor because you lose Chlorophyll. And you get Frisk instead, which I don't think is that useful. But stat-wise, it has a good special attack stat. So it's going to be hitting hard. It's really slow, and it's like not that bulky. I think it's kind of... Yeah, stat-wise, I don't like it. 125 attack is fine. It's like moderately bulky. It's a dragon type, so it's not like frail. But you've just got a ton of weaknesses, so it's kind of... I feel like it's hard to use. It's like a harder to use dragon type. You still have like Leech Seed, which is great. I mean, a dragon type with Leech Seed is kind of crazy to think about. I just don't think it's that. I don't think it's that good. I would put it in the C tier. I think it's... I just think it's a very lackluster, at least for a dragon. Like comparing all the dragon types, I think it's kind of lackluster. I'm just trying to. It's not as bulky. The typing's not as good. It can still be really good. I mean, like defensively with like Sleep Powder and Leech Seed, Hypnosis, Reflect, Light Screen, Trick Room. Like there's a lot of things it can do still, but you know, it's just Put it in the C tier. Turtonator, this thing is awesome. Fire Dragon type is a really good typing because you're Dragon type not weak to Ice or Fairy, and you're Fire type not weak to Water, which is awesome. It's basically Torkoal stat-wise. It's massive defense, fine special attack, fine attack, decent special defense. But you have Shell Trap, which is a minus priority move as long as you get hit by a physical contact move, which, hey, high defense. You unleash a 150 base power stab attack, special attack. Does a ton of damage. Even just like Overheat and Dragon Pulse and Flamethrower are good damage. You have like Iron Defense. You also have Shell Smash, so you can turn around and become pretty offensive if you want to be. But I think just this thing as a pivot is so good. It's Dragon type and a Fire type, which kills two birds with one stone. You know, if you ever want a Fire type on your team, like there's chances you're gonna want a Fire type on your team. You're gonna want to have a Dragon type on your team, and just being able to handle both slots with one is awesome. Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's definitely an A tier. It's above the B tier. I wouldn't put it any higher in the A tier, just because stat wise, I mean, these guys are all doing better, and Altair's got like Dragon Dance, but I think it definitely belongs up here. Now Silvally, I usually rank Silvally. So I still have Silvally on all these lists because if you give it the right drive, I think it's drive. Whatever item you have to give it to change its type, it can be any type you want it to be. And you have multi-attack, which is 90 base power and then turns into a 120 base power in I think Generation 8. So Generation 8 Silvally is much better. But even still, 90 base stab attack, that's any type you are, that's really solid. But I feel like stat-wise and that attack and having that strong of an attack is what dragon types are not lacking. And 95 in every stat kind of just places you somewhere in the B tier. Like you're on the same par as like a Flygon, really stat-wise. While like some of these guys above are just hitting 600 base stat total, are hitting way harder than you, are just as fast, are still as bulky. Like, you know, a Psychic type Silvally who has that much bulk is looking a lot better than a Dragon type who has that little bulk. You know, just for general stat total of all the Pokemon. So that's why Silvally lands somewhere in here in the B tier. I'm just gonna throw him right here. He's not as impressive compared to other dragon types as he is compared to other types, but he still has a lot of great coverage that other dragon types also have. So it's kind of like, yeah, everything he's got going for him, all the other dragon types already have. So if you had a Silvally, if you didn't have another dragon type, he'd be really good as a dragon type. But if you do have any other dragon type in your run, change him to a different type. He's going to be a better suit for a different type. Como sitting at the top of S tier with Dragon Dance, Belly Drum, and Clinger's Soul, I think is what it's called. All of those setup moves are crazy. So Dragon Dance raises your attack and your speed. Belly Drum, you half your HP and you maximize your attack. Or Clinger's Soul, you lose a third of your HP, and you get an Omni boost. And that is the craziest move. I know it's not until like super late game, but all three of those setup moves, this thing is just a setup monster. And Stab Dragon, Stab Fighting, you are basically only stopped. You are literally only stopped by a fairy type, and he can learn like Iron Head, Poison Jab. So there you go. So you could set up and not be stopped by anything and just blow through everything. And this thing's really tanky. Like it's really bulky. It's got great offensive stats. Its speed is fine. I really like its stat layout. It's just super, super good. Flapple, this thing has the earliest Dragon Dance. Like level 24 Dragon Dance. Grass Dragon clearly is not that great, but like you have Stab Grass type move pretty early too. I feel like just that early Dragon Dance is just so impactful for wherever you are in the game. Like chances are when you're level 24 in the game, things are not any Pokemon you're fighting is not ready to deal with something that's setting up Dragon Dances on you. Plus I'm pretty sure you get like Leech Seed and stuff, so you can heal yourself. That fact alone puts it just like Altaria. It puts it like right here with Altaria. I think Altaria's typing's better, which is why I'd put Altaria higher, like that. But I feel like it's still A tier just because level 24 Dragon Dance, like that's ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. And Appleton, Appleton's gonna get his own tier. Appleton's gonna get his own tier. Which is a C tier, but don't feed Applin it's the sweet apple. Yeah, the sweet apple gives you Appleton, and the tart apple gives you Flapple. Literally, you have the choice to you have the choice. Like you're not catching these, you're catching an Applin, and you have the choice of which one to evolve it into. I don't care that this thing is an apple pie, because this thing's gonna get eaten alive. While Flapple, see this thing, he's breaking free of his cage, and he's gonna Dragon Dance, and he's gonna perform well for you. So just literally do not do it. He goes in C tier. He literally goes. I mean, I guess he'd be like better than these two, honestly, because it has like Leech Seed and Recovery, which is cool. But like, yeah, don't do it. Do not do it. I actually want to make it. I want to make a separate tier for Hydreigon too, which still S, but I also want to clarify. Usually can't be used due to level caps, because it evolves at 64, which is like way past most of the games. All right, Dracozolt. Dragon Electric, I don't think is very good. Is like good typing for a dragon type. You just gain the ground weakness, and you don't really get anything better. You already resist water, so now you can hit it super effectively. Stab, which is cool, but every dragon type ever can pretty much already get Thunderbolt, so it's not great. I don't like its stats. I don't like its ability. I don't like Hustle. Trading accuracy for power is not worth it to me because it's just inconsistent. And Volt Absorb is alright, I guess, whatever. So I want to put it in the C tier. But Bolt Beak doubles in power if it goes first. And it's just going to hit ridiculously hard. So that fact alone puts it at least B tier. You kind of have to set it up. You're going to have to set it up, but it's going to hit so hard. Like it's got like 75 speed, so you're either against slow Pokemon or you're going to have like Tailwind or some speed support on your team for it to work. And I think it lands B tier. It's got okay coverage, but just doesn't hit very hard. It's really just Bolt Beak. Like, without Bolt Beak, with Bolt Beak, like S tier. Not really. I think it goes in the B tier. And Dracovish has a very similar move called Fish's Rend, which will double in power if it goes first. But also, Fish's Rend is boosted by Strong Jaw's ability. So its 170 base power is now multiplied by 1.5. And because it's stab, it's also multiplied by another 1.5. And if you have it in the rain, it's multiplied by another 1.5. And if you give him a water plate, it's multiplied by another like 1.2 something. So you could, this thing just starts doing ridiculous like 500 damage. You have like a 500 damage move that is so worth setting up. And like Bolt Beak can still do, it's still like a 300 damage move. Like Bolt Beak is still really strong, but Fish's Rend is just better. And just rain, like the rain multiplier, the Strong Jaw multiplier. I feel like this thing is just gifted. It's just gifted more. Also better typing than Dracozolt. Like poor little Dracozolt. Dracovish is just way better. Also, the Strong Jaw allows its other moves to be still pretty strong, like Bite, Crunch, Ice Fang. You know, things like that are still pretty usable moves outside of just Fish's Rend. But these things pretty much, you just slap a Choice Scarf or a Choice Band on them and you use their signature move, and that's all you do with them. Could he go here? No. No, I don't think so. Duraludon? Dragon Steel type is really good. You're only weak to 2 types, fighting and ground, which is solved by a flying type. So you have a perfect teammate. He's a really good physical tank with high special attack. He's going to deal some good damage. He does have Autotomize is what they're called. So you can double your speed. But I don't think it's quite enough to put him any higher than A tier. I think he's still A tier. Really good typing. Really good physical tank. He's really bad specially, but I mean you can work around it. You know, use him for this physical fights. He's gonna hit really hard. He's got good speed too. He's actually faster than like these guys are. I think I put him like right here. He's a very reliable Pokemon. You don't get him too late. Yeah, I feel like he's got a lot of good things going for him, except for like an ability. No, both of his abilities don't really do that much. Light Metal and Heavy Metal are just like whatever. Dragapult. This thing is the fastest thing. You're never going to get outsped as a Dragapult. And Dragon Ghost is not only really good offensively, it's fantastic defensively. You have 2 immunities with Ghost typing, and you're like quad resisting grass, you're resisting bug, you're resisting poison, you're resisting electric, fire, water. There's so many resistances you have. And gaining the weakness to 1 ghost, which you're not going to be outsped, and you're probably going to kill other ghosts because you're a pseudo-legendary. I feel like offensively, it's so hard to cover this thing. It's like a steel type, but it's still got just as much coverage as everything else. It's got Dragon Dance. It's got, I think, does it have Nasty Plot? Can it have Nasty Plot? Let me double check. But just its typing alone, really good speed, fine special attack, really great physical attack. I think it's 120 attack. Yeah, 120 attack is great. This thing's a monster. It's gonna do everything that you need a dragon to do, and then some. And it's also kind of the 2 birds, 1 stone, because you might want to have a ghost type on your team at points, and your dragon type. You're gonna always want to have a dragon type on your team, and being able to kill 2 birds, 1 stone with Dragapult, take care of them all, both 1 slot. It's just great. Yeah, you learn Dragon Dance by level up. You learn U-Turn by level up, which is awesome. Sucker Punch, which is great. Dragon Rush, Phantom Force, which goes through Protect. It's just perfect stab for you. It's perfect stab. Yeah, this thing is so good. You even get Baton Pass. You can Dragon Dance Baton Pass. Oh yeah, dude, this thing is easily up tier and S tier. So good. So good. It's ridiculous. All the coverage you get. No Nasty Plot, but who cares? Just use it physically. Yeah, just use it physically. It's fantastic. And Goodra. So Legends Arceus Goodra. Hisuian Goodra is Dragon Steel type, which we talked about how good it was as a Steel type. It's got very similar stat layout to this Goodra. It's a little slower. but it's got better physical defense. It's still just a special wall. You get it in the later half of the game. But for Legends Arceus Nuzlocke, which is the only game it's really going to be in right now, unless it's a maybe in a randomizer. In that Nuzlocke, the hardest fight of that game, and the hardest fight of one of the hardest fights of pretty much any game, is that Volo Giratina fight, which I think Dragapult is one of the best Pokemon for that. Absolutely. Shelter is such a good move. It raises your defense and raises your evasion, which is awesome for just stalling and just tanking. It can 1v1 the Giratina in both forms, so it can 2v1 the Giratina in both forms without any sort of healing. It's also just super good for Volo's team. Typing's really good. I gotta throw the S tier. Just for that fight alone and how hard that fight could be, this thing is so good for it. So I think it lands itself in the S tier. And just the general typing, like it's a Goodra. It's just Goodra, everything that Goodra is, with better typing, and also if you do have abilities, you have Overcoat, which is also just great because you ignore weather and you ignore like powder moves. So something like Sleep Powder, you just immune to it, which is great. I think easy S tier to me. And for the last part of the video, we must dub Shenron, the one I think is the #1 Dragon type for a Nuzlocke. And I think the setup king himself, Kumo-o, is got to be Shenron. He's got to be the best. With Belly Drum, Dragon Dance, Clinger of Soul, like just the way this thing can set up and its stat layout and its incredible stab combination with, you know, close combat, Dragon Claw, Iron Head, like it's so good. There's plenty of these Pokemon in S tier. I think these, I would say these 4, probably these 3, could all be Shenron just because of how much damage Dracovish can do, but it does require some setup. Doesn't really do it all on its own. These two handle everything on their own. So these two are like the two I would consider the 2 best, and I just think all of the setup that Kumo-o has and just everything going for him is just the best. And he's super bulky, super bulky. Yeah, I gotta call him the best dragon in my opinion. Just go watch Antler Boy in his, I think it was Pokemon Sword Dragon monologue. He actually beats the Fairy Gym with just Kumo-o. Or Jangmo-o. It's not even the fully evolved one. It's just Jangmo-o, and he just solos it with early Dragon Dance and stuff. It's ridiculous. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I think I'm going to do Bug next. That one was recommended a lot, and that's going to be a fun one to talk about. So I hope you guys are enjoying this content. Let me know who your guys' favorite Dragon type is. My favorite Dragon type is... This is kind of hard. There's a lot of really cool Dragon types. But I think Dragapult's probably my favorite. My favorite pick would be Dragapult. It's so cool. Haxorus is maybe #2, though. There's some really cool Dragon types. Let me know what your favorite is. And hope you guys enjoy this content. Thanks you all for supporting me. Subscribe for more content like this and more Nuzlocke content in the form of, you know, mostly tier lists and guides, but also my streams where I play. Love y'all. Take care. Peace.